The past week has been a roller coaster of emotions. I mentioned the Hawk fire and how that was affecting so many people north of Reno, and thankfully that fire is now 85% contained, but 47 homes were destroyed and at least one business, and I think there were also other buildings damaged. Some injuries did occur. The last I heard, there were 7, I believe, 3 firefighters and 4 civilians, but no fatalities, thankfully. And a lot of people are being allowed to go home, including our daughter. So she is home, still not working yet because the evacuation zones are in flux. The least little wind could set things off. So it's not done by any means, but it's much better than it was a few days ago. So that is a relief for so many people, but it's also tragic for many people. And it is frightening that we have had so many large fires within a short span of time. And our fire season is not over yet. So that in itself was a roller coaster of emotions. While that was happening, we found out that we won our category in the Best of Carson City. So you can see we came in first place in Most Unique Business. And of course, we were happy about that, and we still are. We appreciate the support. We don't know if many people voted for us or how many people voted for us, but it is always a humbling feeling to know that there are people in the community who are willing to spend a little bit of their time voting for things like that. So not only were we given a certificate, we are also in the special newspaper insert that the Nevada appeal did. And there are people, of course, who are not happy about the outcome of competitions like this because they are popularity contests, and it is interesting to see who rises to the top. It's not fair, so to speak, but then unfortunately that's life. And we would have been okay with not winning. We actually expected not to win. We hadn't thought we won. So getting that news during the height of all of the tension surrounding the fire was maybe a little less intense than it would have been if nothing else had been happening at the time. And we had expected to have a very quiet August, but things happen. And then yesterday, I was scheduled to do a talk at the Churchill County Library, which I was really looking forward to. But then yesterday, Dolly Parton passed away. And she was 80 years old, and we are now hearing that she may have had cancer. So in some ways, I'm sure it may have been a relief to her and her family because I lost my own mother to cancer, and it's definitely a mixed bag of emotions because the loss is very sad and we miss the person that we lost. But after seeing them suffer, there is a bit of relief in the fact that they're no longer suffering. So I can't talk too much about this because I'm still very emotional. And then I found out just this morning that last night, actor Tim Curry also passed away at the age of 80, I believe. He had been battling some health problems for quite some time now, and it's so sad to lose people that we admire. And we know that these people are not perfect. I think Tim Curry's passing is being a bit overshadowed by Dolly Parton because she was beloved by so many people around the world, whereas Tim Curry had I think he might have had almost a cult-like following among a certain group of people. He was a great actor and so much fun. But that's not to say that one person deserves more of an outpouring of support and grief than another person, because it just depends on their reach. And I did a short video yesterday talking about Dolly Parton and talked about all the good that she put into the world, and her reach was just incredible. So I'm thinking of both of those people right now, both Dolly Parton and Tim Curry. And I hadn't heard about Tim Curry, like I said, until this morning. But after hearing about Dolly Parton, what happened was I was in a meeting, and then JT and I were having lunch, and that's when he passed on the news, because I hadn't been paying attention to the news or social media or anything while I was in this meeting. And I was enjoying the meeting. It was some very good information. It was my Crone Authors Together group, where women over 50 who write books, we support each other and we provide each other information on different ways to help market our books and things like that. And it was a very worthwhile use of my time. And then hard on the heels of that, where I was feeling very positive about getting some new information that we can try out to help promote our writing, I hear this news about Dolly Parton, and all of a sudden, nothing else really seems quite as important, because it's just, they aren't going to live forever, but when it happens, it's always a shock. So I really didn't feel like doing much, and after, like I said, that morning meeting, my second, I don't know if you'd say obligation, my second task of the day basically was to do my presentation at the Churchill County Library last night. And I really wasn't feeling like doing a public talk because I was feeling very emotionally raw. But then something inside me was saying, well, Dolly, based on her life, she had a lot of hard times and she persisted. And it occurred to me that she was very pro-literacy. So going out to do my author talk in a way was honoring her, because promoting literacy. And we got out to the Churchill County Library and found that they had put up a little display, and I could pop in a picture that JT took of a poster of Dolly and some books, and it was nice to see that. And I did not mention her during my talk. Like I said, I was way too emotionally raw. So basically the talk I gave at the Churchill County Library was similar to the video that I posted. I think it was my last long form video, so the day before yesterday, where I talked about my romance with Nevada. So that was a little bit of a test of my talk for yesterday evening. And there was not a great turnout. There are a few kids that hang out at that library pretty constantly, and they usually help the librarians set up for these events. It is so cute. And then they'll hang out and have snacks, and inevitably they wander out during the presentation, because for the most part, they don't care what adult authors are talking about, but they are very cute, and it was good to see them. So I ended up with an audience of 3, basically, along with 2 of the librarians, so 5 people in total. And I really wasn't expecting much, because at these events, you maybe sell a book or 2. Sometimes you don't sell any books, but it is fun to actually have the discussion with a group of people. And it would be fun to have a larger group there to listen to what you have to say. But a small group can be very intimate and a lot of fun. So I took these 3 books. I took the 2 Restless Spirits books I have, along with From Tundra to Tiara. So I talked about my romance with Nevada and, basically gave that spiel, talked about my history at the Nevada State Archives. I talked a little bit about Battleborn Bride and how I got the inspiration to write that. And the audience was very engaged. There was a couple who are very familiar with the area. They're also into the history of the area. And there was a gentleman who's been at many of the events that we've seen, or we heard that he's been at many of the events. He was also at JT's talk. And I believe he is a homeless person, which is another vital reason to have public libraries. They're a third space where people who are unhoused or displaced by a fire, for example, where they can hang out, not have to worry about spending money or being told that they had to leave because they're taking up room of other customers. So libraries are very important for that reason, as well as providing books to people. And he very fun gentleman. He had a lot of interesting questions. He had some fun stories of his own to share. And so it was a very engaged conversation. And we ended up having our second best sales night ever. So our first day our appearance at the grand opening of Bub's bookstore is the most books we've sold in a day. That was 13 books, excuse me. And that was just rapid fire because we happened to be there when they were doing the ribbon cutting, and people were wandering through and just snatching up books while we were still setting up. I think we sold most of our books prior to our actual start time for that event. But last night, a handful of people there. I really didn't expect to sell any books at all, honestly. And I sold 9, which was amazing. The librarian bought 3 copies, so one of each of the books that will be shelved at the Churchill County Library. So I now have paperbacks. I don't think they're cataloged yet. That can take a little bit of time, but they will be on the shelves of the Churchill County Library with JT's books. Of course, we'll be in different areas because alphabetically our author names are not together, but that was exciting. So 3 books there, and then the couple who are interested in history, they bought these 2 books because they're very fond of Virginia City. And we were having nice discussions about different places in Virginia City, like the Silver Queen Hotel. And then the librarian also bought 2 copies of each of the Restless Spirits books. She bought herself 1 set, and then she bought a set for her father, who also happens to be an archivist who's interested in history. So in case you were not keeping count, I sold 9 books last night, and there was an audience of about 5 people. I'd say that was a pretty good return. And considering I hadn't really felt like doing the presentation after feeling so upset during the day, it was amazing. And then on the drive home, so it's about an hour drive to Fallon, where the Churchill County Library is located. And the drive home, we caught the most gorgeous sunset, and just watching the colors play across the clouds. And it was an amazing night for sunset. So we were out past our normal bedtime. So JT and I are feeling a little bit out of sorts today because we're very easily thrown off from our routine. But it was worthwhile to get out. And I'm glad that even though I really wasn't feeling like interacting with people or being out of the house much, I'm really glad I went. And it's a good lesson that even on those days when things are hard, sometimes pushing through is the best option because you never know what might happen. And it wasn't just the book sales, of course. I mean, that was awesome because it's always good to have a little bit of income, but just connecting with people, chatting with them, talking about things that we have in common, enjoying the history of our local area. And they all seemed just as enamored with Nevada as I am. So I felt very good about that. And then, of course, this morning, I'm waking up and I'm having the inevitable imposter syndrome big time. So again, another shift of emotions. I'm still very happy about how last night went, but I'm feeling like, they might not enjoy the books. They'll see that I've made all kinds of mistakes, especially people who are already familiar with the area. It's possible my presentation of facts isn't what they expect to read. And not to say it's not correct, but there's always local mythology and lore, and some people look at things one way. And so I'm feeling very much like, well, they may not like it. And I sold all these copies and they're all going to be disappointed. And that's an inevitable side effect, I think, of being an author for many people, because I think a lot of us do talk about having imposter syndrome and feeling like the work that we're doing is maybe not as good as it could be. And we hear about all these people who are so much more talented, so much more popular, and they're selling so many more books. During the meeting yesterday, one of the authors in our group was talking about selling 8 to 12 copies of her books per day just on Amazon. I'm excited about selling 9 books. I think we've sold a handful here and there over the course of the month, but that was our biggest sales day for the entire month. And, comparison is the thief of joy for sure. That quote is very true. We're all on different journeys. We're all on different parts of our journeys. So I have to remind myself of that, especially when I'm feeling these really strong cases of imposter syndrome. And, I wake up thinking, oh, that talk was ridiculous. I talked too much about myself and what I do. But I was presenting the reasons why I write the books the way I do and the things in my life that have informed my writing. So, it's hard to figure out the balance because I think people do want to make that connection. They want to understand what you're thinking and how you're feeling. And even though on my end that feels very self-centered, I think that's kind of the point of doing these author talks, is that people want to hear about your books, of course, but they want to hear how the books came about. And it's definitely, we're having all these little hills and valleys in the emotional roller coaster this week. So it has been a good week in many ways. It's been a very sad week in many ways. It's been tragic for some people. And unfortunately, that's life. Not every day is going to be rainbows and unicorns and perfect. And, we have to deal with the good and the bad. And how we deal with it, I think, is very important, because even when we're not feeling like doing things because something has happened, like we've lost a loved one or we've lost somebody we admire very much, persevering can actually really help us get through those hard times. So, like I said, I do feel like it's challenging to promote what I do. I love writing the books. I love hearing that people enjoy the books. I haven't had a lot of negative feedback, but not a lot of people have read my books yet. So, I'm sure that's coming. The more people that read the books, the more negative feedback there will be, because not every book is for everybody. And that's fine. That doesn't necessarily make the book really terrible or really good. Everybody has a different perspective on things. And those kinds of things are important to remember, especially as a writer or an artist of some kind, because it's very subjective whether or not somebody will enjoy your work. And just because not a lot of people have seen or read or experienced whatever form of art you prefer to put out into the world, what really speaks to your soul, when you get those few connections with people who understand what you're trying to do, who enjoy the work you've put into it, who actually take the time to say, hey, I really enjoyed what you did. It spoke to me. Those are the moments that make it all worthwhile. Imposter syndrome aside. So I just wanted to talk today a little bit about that emotional roller coaster that I've been on. And I think we all are on, because that's just part of the human experience. Not everybody has, like I said, not every day is great. Not every day is rainbows and unicorns. And sometimes we have more down days than up ones. So we have to enjoy the good days when we have them. We have to try to make our way through the hard days in the best way possible. And we have to look for those little glimmers of light in the dark days, because the people who have gone before us would want to know that the world is moving on. And that is something that I write about in Battleborn Bride. It's that my main character, Sarah Jane, loses so much, and she doesn't know how she's going to go forward in her life. And she has the realization that by living her life in the best way possible, she's honoring all of the people that she's lost. And I hope that people will take that lesson to heart, because it is easy for us to crawl into a shell and curl up in a corner in the dark and just not want to deal with the world. And it is okay to do that from time to time. But to do that for a long period of time is really a shame, because life is short and there are so many things to enjoy. There are so many people to meet. There are so many places to visit. There is just so much out there to see and do and to live, that to not go out and do those things when we can, it's a real shame. So I'm still processing everything that's going on. I hope my thoughts were at least somewhat clear, and I feel like yesterday was really a blur. JT said that my presentation went really well. He thought I spoke clearly and coherently, which would be good. But sometimes when I'm actually doing things like recording these videos, I don't know if anything I'm saying makes sense. And over the last few weeks, I will admit, I've been having a tough time recording and posting these videos. I was doing really well in the early months, and each day that I posted a video boosted my feeling of accomplishment and gave me the motivation to post all of the videos that I've been recording, and I wasn't re-recording them very often, and was just putting it out there and thinking, this is what I'm doing right now, and it lands how it lands. But for the last few weeks, I've been feeling like, oh, I keep doing this, and what am I really accomplishing? And oh, my videos are terrible. And, sure, they may be, but I am doing something. I am trying to improve on what I'm doing. I'm not getting to the point where I can improve greatly right now, because I still have a lot of other things going on. I'm still working on finding that balance. And that's not to say, woe is me. That's just to say, this is how I'm feeling right now. And there are videos that I've posted where I felt like, oh my gosh, why did I put that out there? Nobody's going to care. It's ridiculous. But I'm posting it anyway. And I'm doing that even though the video may, honestly be terrible. But I'm doing that to keep myself accountable and to prove that I can continue to do these things. So I'm going to continue to push forward for the rest of the year. Yesterday, I did not do a long form video because I was so emotionally raw. If you saw the short I posted on here, I actually was in tears. I was trying not to completely lose it, but it's hard to put yourself out there when you're feeling like that. And so many other people were doing similar things so much more eloquently than I did, but I just felt like I needed to put my little 2 cents into the world. And a few people that I've never interacted with before did make nice comments. So I made a few more connections that way, not necessarily to do anything to promote myself, just to other people who were feeling very much like I was. And hopefully, I know it made me feel less alone. I hope it made them feel less alone. Feels like we're sharing the burden of this grief right now. And it feels a little ridiculous to mourn a celebrity this way, but Dolly Parton was much more than a celebrity. She put so much good in the world, as I said in my short yesterday. So I'm feeling motivation to continue to try to put my own good out into the world. I don't know if I'm accomplishing anything, and I know I will never have the kind of reach that she achieved. She helped so many people with so many things across such a wide variety of areas. I mean, she helped develop one of the first COVID vaccines. She helped people during hurricanes. She helped with her imagination library. There were so many good things that Dolly Parton put out into the world. And that just makes me want to continue to try to do what I can. I don't know if my income will ever allow me to do the financial work that she did, but I do have ideas on how maybe I can do things that would at least help my local community, maybe my state. I just have been trying to figure out how to go about doing them. And it's a challenge. Because if you don't have the kind of support network and the kind of financial resources somebody like Dolly Parton has, it's a lot more difficult to pull together the resources to do these things. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. I've had the idea for years. It is still a viable idea, but finding the best way to do it is challenging. So I am going to continue trying to figure out ways to do that, and hopefully just, like I said, do something maybe that will help my local community, maybe my state, in ways that other people haven't considered up to this point. But that's neither here nor there. Those are just the things that are on my mind right now, because I am thinking about what I can do to try to make a difference in the world. I'm hoping that, sharing history, sharing literature, I don't know if you call it great literature, but sharing literary art, sharing the occasional graphic art, since I still like to play with that hopefully here and there I'll make little changes where I can. And I think that's the best that all of us can do. So I've probably droned on this topic much too long, but I'm still dealing with the emotional roller coaster that the past week or so have been, because prior to my daughter being in an evacuation zone, my father was evacuated, and it's actually been a couple of kind of challenging weeks all around for many, many people in our area and other areas as well. And I'm not, again, none of this is to say, woe is me. Yeah, I do feel sorry for myself sometimes because I'm human, but I also really feel for all the people who have been negatively affected by the things that are going on in the world. And I really wish I could help as many of them as I can, but it's overwhelming and I don't know how. So if putting my videos out encourages someone who maybe has more resources and reach than I do, maybe if it encourages them, inspires them to do something, then maybe I will have done my small part. Who knows? I just keep throwing things out there to see what happens. And hopefully someday, somewhere, I'll find out that something I did made a little bit of a difference. Because if we all made at least a little bit of a difference, I think the world would be a much nicer place. And I really don't want to be like those people that I don't even want to really discuss, but we all know who I'm talking about. The ones that put so much negative into the world. And I think we just need to think positive, move on, and try to remember the people that we've loved and admired and maybe lost, and what they've done and why we admired them, and try to do a little bit of what they did to make the world a better place. And no matter what kind of day we're having on the emotional roller coaster, if we're hanging upside down in the corkscrew, well, maybe we need to take a break. But it's just, you never know where you are. I don't even know if that made sense, but I amuse myself. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you watching these videos, especially if you actually watch them all the way through. I know I can be a little bit meandering when I speak, and that's just who I am. So I gotta be me, in the words of the old song. But again, I thank you for joining me. I thank you for spending time with me. I hope everything is well where you are. I hope the weather is nice. I hope that you and your loved ones are safe and happy. I hope that you're having fun, that you're trying to do something that you enjoy at least once per day, that maybe you're able to occasionally do something that helps brighten another person's day. And let's hang in there and try to make this world the best that we can. I'm Cassidy Carson, and this is The Life of a Writer. Take care.